Tired of jumping through hoops to buy Bitcoin? Frustrated with endless paperwork and invasive identity checks? Introducing Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club's loan program. No KYC required. Say goodbye to the hassle and hello to freedom. Borrow up to $250,000 at as little as 7% interest. Join our community and take control of your financial future. Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club, where privacy meets opportunity. Connect with like-minded individuals and grow together. Visit us today and unlock your $250,000 Bitcoin loan. Your journey to financial freedom starts here.
Good morning and welcome to Bitcoin Thursdays with Dr. J, where we stand for faith, family, freedom, and of course, Bitcoin. I'm Dr. J, and today we're going to talk about not just sovereignty and liberty, but the future of liberty herself. The challenge to preserve the American identity, the rising tide of chaos with the border and immigration, which erodes a culture like a fog creeping in. And yes, Bitcoin, which is not just a currency, but the foundation of a second American revolution itself. I have someone very special today, someone who actually knows a lot about the first American Revolution and the lessons that we need to learn from it. Mr. Mason Weaver is not just a voice, but he's a force. He's a truth teller, force and fire. He's a Marine. He's a survivor. He's a warrior of words and discipline. Mason Weaver, welcome to the show.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, my friend. How you doing?
I am doing great. It's so good to have you, sir. And folks, now, in case you do not know the name Mason Weaver, you should. Mason was crushed under a 1,000-pound slab of steel by a white supremacist supervisor, left for dead, and then reborn, not as a victim, but as a free man. He has written this book called It's Okay to Leave the Plantation. And by doing so, he didn't just, break the chains, he broke minds. He has been a champion of Black self-sufficiency, of Christian values, and an unapologetic masculinity in a world which is trying to feminize men. Mason has spoken to presidents, preached to prisoners, and today he joins us on our show. It's just such an honor to have you, Mason. Tell me a little bit about your story, how your life changed when you were crushed at the job, but instead of hating the men, you understood the entire system of dependency. Tell us what it is to leave the plantation in today's America and its context in the world we live in.
I had a lot of experience on both sides of the economic fence. I lived in the ghetto. I lived in redneck country territory. I grew up with hillbillies and rednecks. Some were racist, some were not. The kids are racist, some were not. It didn't matter to me. I played basketball, I played football. I did great academically. Those two experiences gave me a deep sense of belief that I could do whatever the heck I wanted to do. There was nothing against me but me. The only power on earth capable of keeping me down was me. So when I went to the military, I had enough experience in life. Everybody's not going to like you. They're going to hate you because you're short. They're going to hate you because you're good looking. They're going to hate you because you got charisma. They're going to hate you. The idea is that can you get along with them? I thought I can get along with anybody. On my ship, there was a white racist, and I was a black racist. I had my dashiki and my afro hat on. I speak Swahili. I was into it also. We're doing our thing. And we're arguing and debating every day about the racial issues in America. He said to me, Mason, you think you're better than me? I said, I'm a grown man. Of course I think I'm better than you. Every man does. That's what manhood is. And one day I ordered this guy who I knew didn't like me, but we were shipmates. And I ordered him to take control of not 1,000, but 2,800 pounds of steel and metal. And I stood between him and that steel and a metal wall behind me. And he dropped it on me on purpose. I saw him let it go, trying to kill me. It crushed me. I turned to run. It crushed me on my left hip into that wall. My right side was crushed in. They gave me a week to live, but I was too angry to die. The look on his face, this man This man tried to take my life because I didn't agree with him. The look on his face fueled my effort to live, so I can choke that look off his face. I wanted to kill him. And for years, I recovered. They gave me 2 weeks to live. I walked out in 3 months, but I was angry at everything white. How can you live in America and be angry at everything white? I went to UC Berkeley, radical, speak Swahili, around with other black students. And finally, one day I started thinking, you cannot think and stay liberal. You cannot think and stay depressed. You cannot think and stay disheartened. I'm thinking, how did I get to Berkeley? I'm disabled. I'm crippled. I'm in pain every day. I'm on medication, but I still thrived in Berkeley, graduated early with multiple degrees. I knew I can compete, but that wasn't enough. I had to now turn to God, who I knew about. And the first thing I learned by turning to God, I had to forgive. I had to forgive totally that white boy. I had promised if I ever saw him again, I would take his life away. I had to now promise myself, I had to promise if I saw him again, I would embrace him and tell him about his hatred and about mine. And the minute I forgave that white boy on that freeway, on Highway 5 at 3:30 in the morning, I forgave him totally, completely. And that instant, I was cured. Because the real pressure of my life wasn't the still place that fell on me. It was anger and hatred. That anger and hatred was what kept me in medication, kept me limping, kept me in a cane, kept me disabled. Until I let that hatred go, I was healed instantly. And I've been preaching that ever since. You're in charge of who you are by what you think you are.
Isn't that amazing? What a great story. Now, you have said many times, Mason, that America's problems it isn't political, it's spiritual. What role do you see the God playing in sustaining the sovereignty of the free people? What role do you think, we have from a monetary perspective as well? I mean, God plays into everything. But how do we, this absence of God our society has created, a vacuum that is essentially being filled with tyranny. Faith becomes that backbone to sustain it, right? And of course, Bitcoin is the mechanism, a weapon in that broader war to do so. But tell me about the moral decay, the fearlessness, the gender confusion, this chaos that is being induced into a society which is becoming immoral. How does America break away from that? How do we become a moral society? How do we have a moral currency, something that stands for the values, God-given values?
That is a great question. And as what we're dealing with as a nation, the first thing we must understand as Christians, we must understand scripturally, every problem facing God's people in the Bible, every single problem came from government. Today, every problem facing you today, every problem you face today, I guarantee comes from government. It's the natural enemy of God's people. It wants to be worshiped. It wants to be followed. It wants to be honored. So if you're a godly person, you got to decide one day, am I going to upset God, upset the government or society? They've taken away our right to even praise God in our schools. Churches can't preach on certain times. They tried their best to lead us and guide us. And God has told us how to act, told us what powers to have, told us what thoughts we're supposed to have. And we have allowed the ungodly to lead us and rule us. And every time you have that, every time, 100% of the time, you have chaos, you have torn up families, you have degenerate children, you have no information, no inspiration, you have nothing because master wants to be led. So what we have today, we don't have a culture. We had a slave culture, then we had a Christian culture, and now we have no culture. Everything is okay now. There's nothing that we as Christians could ridicule and compromise on. So, folks, I'm telling you, if you want your country back, you got to get back to God. You have never seen the people of God go into captivity while they're praising God. Find it. Look for it. You'll never see them go into captivity while they're praising God, and you'll never see them come out until they start praising God again. It's time for us to stop being embarrassed over God and start praising God loudly.
You're raising an amazing point about culture. When we look at illegal immigration at the borders, and you have often said it is not just all the social problems, but it's an attack on our identity itself. Walk us through that. What happens to a nation that has forgotten who it is, who she is, when our people no longer have that culture, when it's no longer a hotel where people come in and out? This cultural dilution is, it seems to me, almost intentional, designed to replace, not to integrate. And it's just amazing to me how the government that you said creates the problems. It creates the problems in an effort to be that centralized solution.
Yes.
So these are artificially being created. So talk to me about, what about a nation that forgets its identity? What is going to happen to that nation?
Look at who we are right now. All of us have that little black box on the wall at home. It's called television. And their product, they tell you. See, God does not allow them to lie to us. God makes them tell us the truth, but they tell us in a way that we don't recognize the truth. Their product is called programming. The next program, and they're going to tell us what to buy, what to eat, what to drink, what to think, how to feel. And they took away this concept of being mean-spirited. You can't criticize somebody because they just mean-spirited. So we don't stand up for our rights, stand up for our God, stand up for our customs, put our kids in these gang training camps called public schools so they can learn how to disrespect you and your God. And they tell them what's important in life, and our kids are fighting us. And the reason why is that we are too polite to the ungodly. America became a great nation because it was a godly nation. I met with President Aristide in Haiti in his office, and he asked me a question. Why was Haiti and America found the same decade? America became the richest country and Haiti became the poorest country. And I said, Mr. President, as politely as I could, I was the guest of the nation. Mr. President, when our founding fathers won our freedom, they dropped to their knees and they thanked God Almighty. When your founding fathers, as great as they were, they beat France, Spain, and England, tough dudes. But when they won their freedoms, they dropped to their knees and thanked voodoo. And God Almighty is waiting for you to decide who you're going to praise. Because if he bless Haiti, you got to give voodoo the credit. And God's waiting now for America to do the same thing. He's waiting for you, America, waiting for you to stand up and pronounce his name and pronounce his virtue and tell right from wrong and wrong from right and stand for him. He will not bless us unless we are standing for him. It's time to stand for God and stop trying to not embarrass the ungodly.
You spoke about the ungodliness of a nation, but tell me a little bit about what you've been doing. You were not only with the president of Haiti, you were doing some things for President Trump as well back in the 2016 era. What was your mission at that time, and what were the changes that you were trying to bring into not only Black culture, but also our society in general?
See, I recognize that we're being subdued. We're not being conquered. We're not being invaded. We're being subdued. And I was trying to approach the president to show him how you counteract that. President Trump is a kingmaker. He brings folks on stage and they get known. They go to do things. We have to have guerrilla wars like here, changing the culture, addressing the culture right now. The Black community, as I mentioned to the president, he already knew this. 72% of Black people are now middle class, thanks to Trump. We got the money in our hands now. We're trying to put our kids in school now, trying to find a good place to live. We see the problems. If we eliminate the Black vote, we will win every election. And so that's why they're bringing in illegals, by the way. They're bringing them in because we're not voting for Democrats anymore. So they're bringing in new slaves that's going to be given benefits, your money. So I was trying to get Donald Trump to understand something. America's on the verge of changing back to God. We've seen enough ungodliness. And every morning, that guy has preachers in his office praying over him, laying hands on him. Let's make that nationwide. Televise that. Let them see these Black pastors, the white pastors putting their hands on the president, praying for our nation. That will give courage to the people. I'm trying to bring the nation of courage back. We have to change the culture. The culture we have now is anti-American, anti-God. We have to go back to the culture of success, the culture that made us prosperous, godly, wealthy, and protected. We have to go back to the culture of success.
So this is your 100% right. Now, you've been teaching Black families the culture of success. You've been teaching them about financial independence for decades.
Yep.
How do you see money today, the exchange of values, which has obviously become a weapon in the hand of tyrants and in many countries? In America, we are undergoing almost the second revolution through digital money, through Bitcoin, where sovereignty, when the money belongs to the people, not printed by the government. Walk me through what are some of the things that fundamentally you believe need to be done to make people financially independent, not just in the Black community, but the broader middle class as well, which is the challenge that we have taken on here at the Bitcoin Ben Club, is to educate and get people to be sovereign with their own money, because we know welfare destroys societies. Wealth builds families. Yeah.
You're right. It destroys the family only when they're done with you working for them. They keep you alive as long as you keep working for them and making money for them. I learned something in college. In college, I had no hope of working for somebody 30, 40 years. I did not know God was going to heal me. I went to school to find out what's going on, but I noticed something in college. The professors were broke. The professors didn't have any money. The professors were not successful. So they couldn't teach me anything. Why am I going to sit in your class and you get, what about your car being fixed tomorrow? So, but I did notice the people who built the buildings at Berkeley, Sproul Plaza, Bolt Hall, those individuals who had enough money, enough resources to build a college campus, those guys I studied. I studied the people who had enough resources to build the college campuses on Berkeley. And I found out something. Rich people call it making dough. I'm sorry, no, poor people call it making dough. Rich folks call it cash flow. The cash flows. Learn how it flows. You get a big enough basket, call it business. The big basket gets more of the money from the flow. Small baskets get less money. I decided to get in the middle of the cash flow, find a way to make money come to me, find a way to make money work for me. Every dollar is a soldier in your army. You treat it well, it win the battles for you. At Berkeley, I was 23, 24 years old, knew I couldn't work for a living. I had to find a way to create income to come to me no matter what I've done. I'm now 75 years old. I own my homes, own my cars. I have no debt, have money in the bank, and it will come in the bank for me and my grandkids and great-grandkids because I understand the flow. And if America understood the flow, we understand why people are doing certain things. Why is it that Nike shoes in Vietnam makes tennis shoes for the Bloods and the Crips gangs? Why? They keep that gang stuff going in the hood. They keep you fighting each other. They keep you wondering about each other. Understand how money is created. It's created by getting you to think a certain way about who you are. So I teach people how to think about what they are, not who they are, not where their daddy came from, not how much time you spent in prison, how to make cash knock on your door. I'm here to help you. And it will do it if you do it the right way.
Isn't that amazing? Because the journey that you have taken to tell people about money, about cash flow, about preservation of value, and that is precisely the same journey, just a different spin that we are undertaking here at the club as we educate our folks about Bitcoin, about the sovereignty of money, about how it can appreciate, how you should, what we call hodl, hold on for dear life. You hold on and keep it, and then you exchange value and you preserve value. So it's almost like the second revolution taking place. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment, Mason. We're going to come right back. We're going to take a quick break for a commercial from our sponsors, and we'll be right back on the other side of it. So just hang tight. Mason Weaver, folks. We're going to have continue this fascinating conversation. Attention visionaries and pioneers, the future of wealth is here, and it's spelled Bitcoin, Bitcoin. Introducing the exclusive Loans for Bitcoin program at the Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club, where your good credit unlocks 0% interest loans for up to 2 years, or term loans
up to $250,000 spread over 7 to 12 years. Why wait? Use this capital to acquire the world's fastest appreciating asset, Bitcoin. With prices hovering around 94,000 and projections aiming much higher by the year's end, the time to act is now. Leverage isn't just for Wall Street anymore. Arbitrage the low cost of your loan against Bitcoin's explosive growth. It's smart finance for the modern investor. And privacy matters. Our no KYC Bitcoin purchase program ensures you buy and self-custody your assets in your own wallet. Your keys, your Bitcoin, your future. And as the world shifts to digital currencies, be ahead of the curve. Front-run corporations, governments, in this greatest financial revolution of our times. I'm Jay Bose, CEO of Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club. Call or text us today at 941-413-6920 and get started on that loan application. Secure your legacy. You will thank yourself tomorrow.
And welcome back to the Bitcoin Thursdays with Dr. J. And I'm here with the one and only world famous Mason Weaver, dear friend, patriot, educator, a pastor, and certainly an analyst who has been politically watching the world with eyes that only he can see through. Mason, true freedom requires discipline. It requires responsibility, time management, self-control, a moral fiber and fabric on which it's not just about tech innovation, or it's not just about, big words. It's really every day that, the truth that is seldom told is that freedom is not a birthright. It is something that we need to fight for every single day with every action. And as we see our dollar slowly dying, as we see a culture that is collapsing, what is next? I mean, if we are to keep and preserve our culture, if we are to maintain the American way, if we are going to be a great nation where our communities don't tear down societies, but join hands to build it, tell me about the future of where we need to go, at least what the blueprint should look like, so that we can at least get on board and start to row that oar that is going to take us in the right direction.
Sir, if you do not own your avenue of income, you are a slave. Have you noticed that I'm Black? I came from that heritage. Slaves did not own the plantation. Slaves did not own the cotton. Slaves did not own the machines of transportation. Slaves owned the right to work for master. And master kept the system. See, master didn't love the slaves. He loved what they were doing for his grandkids. So understand, your income is not up to you. Right now, your interest rates are set by the government because they lend the money to the banks. The banks are not lending you their money. They lend you the government's money they get, and the government tells them how much interest they're going to charge you. And that's keep your market going up and down. If you understand what freedom really is, freedom, especially when men, we're built a certain way. We're built a certain way. We're supposed to go out and create everlasting income for our children. I have a cemetery in my family that you got in Mississippi with tombstones of Black weavers in the 1700s. Land they own. This is a generational effort. If you're not thinking about your great grandkids, you're not thinking. If you're not understanding how this system is working, got to ask somebody for a minimum wage increase. If you understand how cash makes you a slave, then you're going to be a slave all your life. What we see now is an opportunity to change the spectrum. We see an opportunity now. It's new. It's there. It's real. And when the stock market, when Trump got out of office, I got out of the stock market. And I knew it was going to go up, but I just did not trust the new administration. I knew the history. I got out. Men, I'm not a female. I can't talk for women. Men are willing to give their lives for their kids. They want to give their lives for their wives. Why don't you live your life for the next generation? And after that, the next generation. I can't hear him.
Sorry, I had muted for just a second. The dogs were barking in the background. So sorry about that. So, you mentioned President Trump, and whatever one's politics might be, President Trump is not just a president. He's almost, he's doing a cultural recalibration of sorts. It's almost like a force dragging the Overton window back to the center, back to the borders, back to free speech, back to sovereign finance and Bitcoin. He's really starting to expose the lies that the old empire was built on. So, it seems to me that our forefathers, and you have a tremendous perspective on that, they didn't assume that freedom would always be there. It's endangered. The Constitution itself isn't self-executing. It has to be guarded. It has to be protected. And the ruling class, the government, has really left the gate open for the wolves to come in. So how do we create that cultural recalibration from we the people? And in this context, it almost seems to me, you just mentioned that in the Black culture and the slave culture, right? The separation between the master and the slave was money. Someone who understood cash flow, someone who didn't. It almost seems to me that today, that story is playing out again. Those who understand Bitcoin and those who understand digital money are going to become that class, that separation, which is going to break away from the pack. And those who don't get on that bandwagon are going to be left behind because the world is becoming digital. The AI chatbots are taking over, the AI intelligence. These digital warriors and workers, which is the world which it's going to, are not going to be handing each other dollar bills. They're going to want to trade in digital money. And so this same thing, money is what is going to start to separate the classes and the society. And yet there is a great opportunity right at this moment for any person, black, white, green, pink, yellow, to get on board and be on that forward journey rather than the history of how money has been controlled by the Federal Reserve, by the Bank of International Settlements, by the Federal Reserve, neither federal nor reserve, by the Treasury. It no longer looking up just to the government for a handout, but for creating your own future. It's the message that you've been giving for decades, but it is so true today as well as we enter the world of Bitcoin. Speak to that, how freedom plays into it.
You really have to understand something. If you do not know about Bitcoin, then you're going to be left behind. If you're not educating yourself, even if you don't like it, if you're suspicious of it, if you do not educate yourself to where in your heart you have the knowledge, then someone else will rule your kids and you. Get the information. When I'm sitting at Berkeley, my greatest hope in life was just to walk again. I have to learn about my body, learn about what I'm doing. Right now, we have a digital change in our lifestyle. We have a digital change in our children's education, and they want us to be in debt. There's a reason why a college degree costs $100,000 now. There's a reason why. When I went to Berkeley, it was $350 a semester. Okay.
That was a while back.
That was a minute. But the knowledge, the reason why they want to control our knowledge right now, we're fighting each other over things we don't even know to understand. We don't know understand it. Even if you don't understand Bitcoin, you got to be able to see how big it is right now. And the plans are for bigness. We see I went to the trash company here. If my trunk out, trash. They didn't take cash. They didn't take cash. They only took credit. This is, folks, right now, cash is a legal tender. You cannot not take cash. But I said, what you gonna do? Call the police? I don't have the card you require. I'm not gonna go back home. It's crazy. They are telling us how to train our kids, how to save our money. But you look at where the money is, you know it's being corrupted by individuals who don't care about you. I suggest if you know nothing about Bitcoin, you owe it to yourself and your family to gather information. Knowledge, folks, is freedom.
Indeed. And, this freedom is ephemeral because the freedoms that, President Trump came in and we are starting to see more information flow and we feel, at least I feel like that we have a few more freedoms than we did before. We're not being gagged and we're not being masked and not being forced into homes that we can't leave. So I feel that is there, but it beyond this next 4 years, you see, this is not about Trump. This is not about this administration. This is about our future. How do we enshrine the freedom that we are now winning back slowly, piece by piece, brick by brick? How do we enshrine so that I see it almost as a war of attrition, right? The border has been a war of attrition. One guy wants to break down the walls. The next guy comes in, wants to build a wall and stop the inflow. It's a war of attrition on our beliefs. Do we believe in God? Do we not believe in God? It's a war of attrition on biology. Can I turn a young man into a woman by chopping off his genitals and putting a wig on his head?
You gotta chop it off. It's just put a wig on it. Still think of the woman.
It's absurd, right? It's absurd at the level at which this battle, I see both sides playing out. One side, the Biden or the auto pen comes in and suddenly all we can talk about is climate change and all we can talk about it, that is the new God, right? And then President Trump comes in and all of that, we are with a vengeance. We're going back and saying, nope, you got to bring back all the people who are thrown out of the military for refusing the jab. We got to bring, and we got to prosecute these people. So in some ways, our freedom, our liberty should not have to be on the seesaw. Freedom, what can we do? I mean, I know Bitcoin is certainly sovereign money, which can be that anchor potentially to keep that continuity over the next 100 years, right? Of our property rights codified in that digital constitution. What are some of the other things we can do, Mason, to preserve this beautiful, fragile freedom, liberty, peace? What can we do? Let's assume that over the next 3-4 years, we can make headway, reverse some of the bad things that have happened. But what do we need to do, Mason, now to preserve that for the next 50, 100 years?
Well, understand, folks, right now we're being abused. And the abuser has hundreds of years of experience in abusing you. They abuse. 100 years ago, the Indians would attack the wagon train and take the women back to the camp. And when springtime comes, the soldiers have come to rescue the women, and they're fighting with the Indians now. World War II, Germany conquered France. 30 minutes, but they conquered France. And 2 years later, D-Day happened, and we went to Normandy and marched into France. And guess what? Those German women were fighting. Some of them were fighting for the Nazis, for the troop soldiers. In America, you can right now have the cop pull up on a domestic dispute, and the man can be beating the woman on the front lawn. The cops will pull him off of her, and she will get up and fight the cops. That explains that why black folks keep voting for the ruler of the ghetto. They keep promising every year, I can make it better, I make it better. But the more abuse they have, the more gangs, the more drugs, the more prostitution, the more death, the more loyal they are to the party that put them there. So we have to understand, we think that abuse means they're ready to come to us. Abuse means they're solidly engaged. We have to get engaged. Our founding fathers risked their wealth, their lives, their freedom, their reputation, their homes on declaring freedom for their families and our nation. They risked everything, and most of them lost everything. They stood up willing to lose. They had the money already. They had no need for the Constitution. Income was great for them. They ruled what they were. But they still said this tyranny must stop, folks, until we get enough of what's happening to us We see it. We know, but they're abusive. They may come and get us. They may burn us down. You try being a black Republican Trump supporter, walk around with a Trump hat on. They feel that they have to come at you. If you understand what abuse is, it would abuse you and use you and train your children to work for their children. If you are tired of that, if you had enough of that, the inner fears should bring out a little rage in you and stand up and take a chance on putting them down. Because the minute we stand up, folks, the second we stand up, every time we stand up, 100% of the time, they back down. They back down.
Yeah, you know, I was reading this book, which my father-in-law had given me on my birthday. It was called "They Signed for Us," and it was the backstory of the 56 founding fathers who signed on the Declaration of Independence, knowing fully well that their wealth, their farms, their family would be decimated, destroyed, right? Their sacrifices that were made and their sacrifices that have to be made even today. And we have to build a republic reimagined. This is not to just reminisce on what our forefathers did, but to reclaim what is rightfully ours now going forward. In this reimagined republic, our job is not to complain and tear down society and break down the Nike stores and the Hermes stores and take stuff away, but to construct and positively rebuild as we the people. We have to, join hands together. So I think we have the right atmosphere, the right environment starting to come together where some healing can take place. But I feel like that there is no doubt we still have to make a lot of sacrifices to win this freedom, to win the freedom, monetary freedom, to win our social freedoms, and to make this truly a shining city on the hill. Tell me, Mason, how do we engage as a multicultural, multi-ethnic country guided by God to become that beautiful republic reimagined?
Yeah, folks, there's only one culture, the culture of God. If you compromise everywhere you see two cultures trying to live together, everywhere you see chaos, revolution. You see Pakistan and India. You see everywhere you see it. Let's stop worrying about other cultures. Let's all of us promote our own culture. The culture of success, the culture of God, that's promoted. You cannot have two cultures. One must submit, one must lead. The culture that we're following today has always worked for mankind. Wherever you find it, it's always worked for those who are righteous. There are people who don't live in righteousness. They live in tyranny. They survive on tyranny. They survive on taking you out of your home and making you poor. They survive on training your kids to be foolish to your God. That's what they do. And we're sitting back watching it. And the minute we stand up, every time we stand up, every time we win. That's why they don't want us to dare stand up. They don't want us to dare take a chance. They don't want you to stand up for what you believe in. I met that little black box on the wall, and their product tell a vision. They tell you about me and me about you, so that when we meet on the streets, we won't talk to each other because we see on TV. Even if we go all day long, we go to the movies together, we go to baseball games together, we go eat food together, and nothing happens until we go home and turn that doggone TV on. And that's reality. Not what we saw all day long. What we see on TV is reality. They're hypnotizing us because they know the minute you and I come back to the culture that made us all successful, we'll stand up and confront them, and we will win if we confront them. So don't let them play you. Stop being played. I am not what you see on TV, and you're not what we see on TV. We love America. We're Americans by birth, by adoption, and we will rule this world continually until we stop believing in us, not them.
You speak about that device in every home, the television. There is something else in many homes, including mine, and it's a flag on my porch. And I put that up for a reason. It's not just a decor. It's a declaration. It's a declaration that freedom still lives here, and that America still matters, and that my children will not be ruled by digital chains disguised as convenience. I know Bitcoin gives us that financial freedom. It's just giving me the time, giving us the time as a society to think, to build, to worship, to protect. Say no to inflation, no to censorship, no to this tyranny. So as you know, and in my neighborhood, as I drive every morning to work, I see more and more flags on that porch, and makes me happy because people are starting to stand up. They're starting to speak the truth. They're starting to stack Satoshis. They're starting to guard their homes. And for the love of God, never stop defending what is yours, right? Back in, you and I talked about this probably, oh boy, a couple of years ago. And at that time, we were talking about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as Jefferson had phrased it when they were drafting the Constitution in the halls of freedom in Philadelphia. But the history of that goes back to John Locke, almost 80 to 100 years prior, where John Locke was talking that these monarchs are no more special. They don't have direct access to God. They wear the pants like everybody else. And he was the first guy doing it. But in his original writings, it was life, liberty, and the right to property. And the fourth right was the right to defend the first three, right? So that's where, Samuel Adams is reading the works of John Locke from 100 years ago, writing a letter to his brother, John Adams, who is then, working on the first draft of the Constitution. It is fascinating to me how property is really going to become the foundation around which freedom will have to pivot. And, right. and especially in our community, money is the most foundational of all properties, right? If we own our own money, if the government does not control it, it gives us freedoms and liberties that nothing else can.
So, nothing gives us freedom. You're right. Independence.
Independence. We need, and my solution to this is that unless we can have monetary freedom and independence completely separated from the government's ability to print money, from the government's ability to stop that cash flow, from the government's inability to break into the blockchain. Once we have that, 1,000 different flowers will blossom from that freedom, and it'll become more of a sustainable, long-term vision for what America is, and ergo where the world will go to. Mason, I'm going to leave you with the last word over here as we wind down this show, and share with us what your thoughts are on freedom for this country, and what you would advise not only our presidents, as you continue to do, and our so-called leaders. What advice would you give to the everyday man and woman who wants a better life for their family, who wants to live in the path of God, and where we are being destroyed and pulled apart by this artificial culture which has been propped up against us with USAID dollars?
I would suggest that you realize who you are, acknowledge who you are, and then you'll see no one has authority over you. We are a self-governing nation. We the people rule this nation. It belongs to us. And that's why I don't follow policy. When I go to a location, I say, go to the doctor's office. Our policy is that we have to have your driver's license. That's not my policy. I don't give my driver's license to you. We have to be able to stand who we are individually. They will come against us, but they have limited power if we understand who we are. They will back down. We must not just let them back down. We must replace them, because their backing down is to give them more time to grow stronger. If you want to be free, understand that freedom is a verb, not a noun. It's something you're doing in spite of what you see. Freedom means that you have to act like it every day. And once you do that, the acting will create such a force in this nation. They have to bow down to you. They never, ever, ever conquer you if you're acting on your faith. Folks, get back to believing who you are and whose you are and who created you and who sent you. We got sent for a job. Stand up and they will melt. They will melt in front of you. Get the knowledge and get free.
On that amazing note, Mason Weaver, thank you for being on this show today, for sharing your thoughts, and be free, get sovereign money, and remember, freedom is not going to be given to you. Don't ask for permission. Fight for it. Fight for it at every moment, at every step of your life, because that is the world we want to create for our children.
Amen.
God bless you. God bless America.
God bless you, sir.
Are you buying and selling cryptos on the same laptop that you're using to browse the internet, read your email, and visit social media sites? If so, you're exposing your cryptos to theft. Whenever you're online, you're at risk of getting hacked and having your identity stolen. How would you feel if someone stole all of your cryptos? What would that do to your finances? Guard your cryptos with a safe and secure laptop from CALIX Solutions. Each laptop is set up just for you and your cryptos, and then we walk you through exactly how it works. Don't risk the security of your cryptos. Order a crypto laptop from CALIX Solutions now to secure your crypto future. Learn more at calixsolutions.io.